Okay, so good evening, people. Welcome to Yoran Alive. This is Yoran coming to you live from Bucharest, Romania. Today is Thursday evening, and we have today Cristina Oțel with us once again from Soul Bloom. And today's topic we're going to be talking about is a life design. Now, as you all know, Cristina Oțel is a mother of two beautiful kids. She has a very successful podcast. How do you call that, Cristina?
Pauza de Bine.
Pauza de Bine, a good break. I believe that's what it's called in English.
Sort
And
of.
sort of. And she also has, as I would say, she has her own blog. So Soul Bloom, you can directly use that as I've tagged it on the broadcast as well. So Christina, welcome to the show once again. It's so beautiful and so nice to have you. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me again. We had so much fun the last time that we decided to give it another go, right?
This is absolutely great. I love that. I love that. I love to hear that energy. How have you been? How are things picking up with the current situation? How things are progressing?
It depends what you mean by the current situation.
So we have been out from the lockdown. Now we are in a state of alert. We are no longer in an emergency. We can go out, wear a mask, go to the on public transport or go in the metro, go to different shops. How are things with that perspective with you, with life, with family, and with business?
Mm. So it's interesting because since now we can, visit people or we can have people over, we decided to have the painters over. And so for the last week or so, we've been busy painting the walls and then cleaning the mess. So yeah, some of my focus was on this. And then business-wise, people are starting to think about summer. They're hoping to be able to go somewhere, even if only in the country, to change the scenery, to
absolutely
get some fresh air. And so, yeah, it's the past week has been a bit slower business-wise for me, but it was perfect because it created space for the things I needed to finish. So all is fine.
So that's really good. That's fantastic. I'm glad to see that getting back on track, as I would say, back on track. So Christina, how would we start off, and maybe try telling me what is life design, or how would someone get to understand what it stands for?
I'll just, return the question to you.
Okay.
And I'll ask you what you think life design means. What do you think about, what comes to your mind when you hear these two words next to each other?
Well, the literal sense of it would be designing your life. I don't know, making it more beautiful. I mean, I'm trying to take it in a way that I would see what design would really stand for, like interior design, fashion design, right? To make more sense, the right colors, the right fixture, the way you have made your house, color combinations, I don't know, proper equipment for that matter, if it is the interior design. So probably that would reflect on the topic of life as well. Maybe some things you want to remove, some things you want to renovate, some things you need to change.
There you go. So now you can take over.
All right. So thank you, Cristina, for coming on. But Cristina, I would need your expertise. So yes, please tell us if I missed out on anything with this, with the introduction, of course.
Okay. So in my opinion, the short version or the short answer to your question is that life design is about crafting a life that you love. And so now we have the question, what does that look like? Because it will be different, right, for everybody. You said that it's about perhaps creating a more beautiful life or making it even more beautiful. What is it that would make it more beautiful? Right? So it's about creating a life in which you can thrive. You can be yourself. You can do more of the things that energize you.
Okay. Right.
You can start to eliminate the things that you no longer like, that no longer serve you, that no longer represent you. The things that, and when I say things, it can be activities or it can be perhaps people sometimes,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That drain you of the energy that you need, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've heard of this so many times where people are just talking about removing toxic people from their relationship or from the people that they're in touch with.
Mhm.
Now, I try to understand this. I was like, how can someone be toxic? And then I realized, not necessarily, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you're the coach. Not necessarily they need to be bad, but it's just not beneficial. It's not really helpful to you in a positive way.
Yep. So when you think about thriving, when you think about a flourishing life,
Mm-hmm.
it means that, among other things, you've become aware of what are some of your dreams, what are some of your goals, where are you going, right? And
The,
it also means that you are evolving. And as you evolve, your needs change, your values change.
uh-huh.
And when you go to new places, sometimes you need new people. If you are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, for example, then you could consider adding some entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
into your circle of people that you spend time with,
Right.
because these people know your struggles, they've been there.
They've been there. Right. Mm-hmm.
If they've already moved on, if they're already at the next level, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
then they can act as role models, as inspiration for you, right? It was difficult for them, but they managed. You can find out how they managed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that sometimes it's just that when you're aware and you're very making conscious effort of spending more time with people who have similar values with you, who have similar interests or experiences as you, then it helps you stay on track to
Mm-hmm.
go towards those objectives or goals or dreams that you
What?
want to achieve.
Right. Sorry, I'm asking. If it's okay to
Yeah,
ask
sure.
you a question? Um, and Sophia is also writing in with the same thing that got me thinking. So she's saying it's not very easy to do it when you don't have a direction. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say when you know what you want to do, okay, so you know which kind of people you want to hang out with, which kind of groups you want to be, which kind of
Okay.
events you want to attend. But what if somebody is not able to know what he wants in order
Mm-hmm.
to get to that maybe first step?
Mm-hmm. I believe many times before you know what you want, you get a clear sense that something is off.
Okay, I would agree
It
to that.
makes
Yeah.
sense, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
perhaps you no longer feel engaged at work. Perhaps you have, I don't know, you're fighting with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
You're not getting along with your kids. You feel depleted because you virtually don't exist in your own calendar. You don't make time for yourself. I don't know. It can be a number of
Yeah.
things,
A
right?
lot. Yeah. Sometimes you just feel like you don't have the energy. Like, what am I doing? I'm like going to work, coming back, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel energetic about yourself, right? Or you feel
Yeah.
just drained out.
And sometimes the intention to make changes in your life doesn't necessarily begin, with, oh, this is what I want, this is where I'm going,
Mm-hmm.
go get it. Sometimes it's a discomfort. And what happens, or this is my experience with my clients often,
Okay.
is that they are in this situation, let's say they want to change jobs or they think they want to change jobs, right? So you're having trouble waking up. When you think about Monday morning, you're just blah. I just dread going to work. right?
Yeah, I'm sure so many
Um,
people feel that way, but yes, I agree.
so that can go on for a very long time. And at first, maybe you just say, okay, maybe I'm tired, or maybe, I don't know, I'll come down with a cold, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
I just need to sleep more. And we don't really dig deeper. So the one thing you can do when you see that, I don't know, it's been weeks or maybe months, and you're still dreading going to work, you can start
Right,
asking some questions. What is it that I don't like? What's missing?
right.
Because if you
Mm-hmm.
don't do the digging, you might assume that you no longer like your job, that your boss sucks, right? And you're just going to quit and you'll go find something else,
Mm-hmm.
another job. But what if it wasn't your boss?
Right. That was the easy
What is,
scenario that you gave us.
right?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
always easier to blame someone
Someone
else.
else. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
So then you don't look into it. You assume it was, let's say it was your boss, your
Mm-hmm.
manager.
Right.
You quit and you go find another job, which on paper seems better, whatever that means, right?
Mm-hmm.
Higher pay,
New
or
role. Yeah.
yeah, new role, a new environment,
Environment,
new
new people.
colleagues, new
Absolutely.
manager.
I
But
Mm-hmm.
as you know, the weeks go by and you start to get used to this new role,
Mm-hmm.
you realize that your new boss sucks,
Once again. Right.
right?
No, it's true. Yeah.
So why do you think that happens?
So probably people are treating the symptoms of what they are feeling, but not really getting to the core of the matter. Right.
Sometimes yes, sometimes yes.
So they
And if
probably
you
think,
just,
mhm.
yeah, go ahead.
No, it's I was just saying that they just think, okay, it's just the job. They don't, and it's not their fault. I'm just trying to think, like, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I'm just trying to have a conversation. It's like, it's maybe
please.
not their fault because they don't really know either. And they're like confused. And it's like, maybe it's the job. Maybe I'll get a better job, a different job, a different
Mhm.
environment, things will turn out better. And then, like you said, as correctly as you pointed out, you're back in the
Yep.
same boat,
Yeah.
back in
But
the same situation.
confusion is a good place to be. In confusion, I believe that there are a lot of answers if you're willing to do the work and to face that confusion and to look at it really. So what can happen?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, um, as we go through life and we evolve, we go through these stages. And as we get older, sometimes it happens that our needs change. And if our needs change, then our values change, because values are a reflection of our needs.
Okay.
So, for example, let's say that for some reason, as you evolve,
Mm-hmm.
the value of creativity or of freedom became more important than it used to be. And so you dread going to work because now you have this new value. Pick one, creativity or freedom, whichever you want.
Okay, let's go with creativity since I am more towards that, but
Okay,
I don't know.
cool.
Okay,
So for
right.
some reason, as you evolve, this new value becomes important to you. But you work in a job that has loads of policies and procedures,
Mm-hmm.
right? So perhaps last year or a few months back, it was still okay. But now you need more creativity. But you did nothing about it because you didn't know. You're still doing your job and you're ignoring this idea that you need more creativity. So it's easy to say my job sucks because X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when you start to go digging and you realize that you have this unmet need for creativity, now you can start to think about actions. And so what could you do? Instead of quitting and blaming everyone else, what would you do?
I would at that moment probably, if I've come to the level where I understand, okay, I need more creativity. That's I think to start with is a great point. So you already know what the issue is, right? So I suppose you start looking laterally in the company of where my creativity could be used or could be not respected, but how you say acknowledged, right?
Okay.
So maybe that would be
That's one option.
one option.
Another option might be talking to your boss.
Mm-hmm.
You know, depending on the organization that you work in, you might talk about career path or career development plan or something.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps you could suggest some projects, or you could do something on the side, or you could look for ways in your current job to make them more creative.
Right. Of course.
Right. Or
of course.
besides your day-to-day job, perhaps, you know, when I was in the corporate world, in our company, we had this, it became sort of a tradition, you know, to have all sorts of extra projects.
Okay.
Or virtual teams that you could work on besides your job. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, I led one of these virtual teams on training. So all of the people that I worked with, my entire team was a virtual team, which means that they were credit analysts or collection analysts or whatever their jobs were.
Right.
But besides that, they managed their schedule, their energy, and their workload in such a way that they got involved in training related activities as well. They created trainings, they facilitated trainings, they learned how to become trainers. And that was motivational for them, you know, and it engaged them and it gave them energy. So in a similar fashion, you could start looking for ways to make your job more creative. And if you get to the conclusion that, okay, this job is really, you know, not suitable for what you need right now, then when you go searching for a new job, you'll have some very important clues, right? You need a job where you can be creative.
Right. That's fantastic advice, Christina. Thank you. I'm trying to kind of rewind and come back to the point where we are in confusion, right? So for someone who has maybe listened to you before or has heard another life coach or a person, a mentor or a motivator, and know maybe what the confusion and how the confusion helps. So let's talk about what about somebody who is newly in this confusion and doesn't have a clue, right? So he's probably trying to change jobs, but is there a way where he can ask or she can ask certain questions to maybe, how would you say, to understand that, okay, this is not the solution to the symptom, like you need to change a job, but is there a certain pattern or a certain way what that person can do to realize what the issue is? Where I said mine was creativity and not really the job itself or the location, right?
So one thing you could do, or one thing that you need to do, first of all, is not run. Right? And it's not easy to sit in discomfort. We don't like that.
Yeah.
Our brain likes certainty. Our brain likes predictability. It will choose the path it knows because it's safer. It doesn't matter that you don't like it. It doesn't matter that you're bored. It doesn't matter that you don't need your creativity because you're safe, right? And that's your brain's job, number one job, to keep you safe. So one thing that you need to do is not run from that confusion or from the discomfort, right? So then it is what it is. Let's try to describe what we're feeling. I feel meh. It doesn't really help us get clues, right? So what is it? Is it frustration? Is it anger? Is it sadness? Do you feel bored? Try to really, you know, narrow it down.
Right.
It's not like, I don't like it anymore. Okay. What is it that you like still? What is it that you don't like?
Right.
What is, so now we're talking about the job example, right?
So you think it would be a good idea to make a list while doing this internal dialogue?
Whatever helps.
Okay.
Right? You can, I don't believe in recipes. I believe in asking questions meant to deepen your awareness about where you are and what's going on.
Right.
One thing that certainly doesn't help is blaming other people and looking, for explanations or for reasons in the external world.
In the external, fantastically said. Yeah,
Look,
absolutely correct.
Look inside.
This is so much lacking today, Christina. Sorry, I'm stopping you, but
No, please do.
I
I
mean,
like conversations.
yeah, okay, so that's good. I'm glad. I'm really glad that you're enjoying this. So, I mean, I'm trying to have the dialogue. So the thing is, with today, everything is so fast. I mean, in a way, with the pandemic that took place, things kind of slowed down. And when you're saying people need to sit down and think and not blame someone else, is something typically someone wouldn't do today. It's like everybody wants a solution right now. I have a headache, I need to take a pill, I need to get back to my job, or I need to do this. They don't have the patience to, like you said, just, which is absolutely important, like you're saying, to sit and just introspect, look into yourself.
It's
I think
very
this is
important.
something very difficult, which that people are missing and should do, or maybe are they afraid?
Might be.
That's why they
Because
blame others, right? Or we blame others.
You don't know what's on the other side. If you sit down with this issue and you look at it and you make it about, and the questions you ask are also important, because if you always ask, why do they love their jobs and I have the worst job? Why does someone else do something and I can't? Why is everything happening to me? Right?
Right.
These questions don't really help you. So you can ask, what am I feeling? You can ask, what am I thinking about a certain problem? These are two different things, right? What you think and what you feel. And typically it's easier for people to say what they think than what they feel.
Okay. Yeah.
I would ask then.
Probably women have it easier to talk about what they feel than men. This is what I feel. Men usually don't talk about feelings. No. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just.
But this is nice. Can I just stop for a second?
Yeah,
I'll come back to
definitely.
the job
Of course.
example.
Go on. Yeah.
What you said is that men typically don't talk about feelings.
Yeah, men are not the touchy-lovey stuff kind of thing. I think not me. I have a strong feminine side actually, but this is the general understanding.
Yeah. One explanation, and I'm not saying this is the only explanation, right, is that at least in our culture, but I'm sure it applies to other cultures as well. What is it that boys hear when they are little and they grow up?
Be a man.
Be a man.
I don't know.
Big boys don't cry.
Big boys
don't talk about feelings.
We don't talk about feelings.
It makes you look weak.
You're crying like a girl.
Feeling. Yes. Right. So don't cry. The child goes to the doctor. He needs to have a shot. I don't know. It's going to hurt. He's going to cry. And it's okay. But, we have this belief, right, about how boys and girls should be raised, what they should do, what they shouldn't do. And the idea is, circling back to life design, is that all of these beliefs that we keep hearing from our caregivers, our parents, our grandparents, our teachers, television, whatever, society in general, we keep hearing these ideas and we internalize them.
Yeah.
And we how do I put it? We don't.
These ideas become. Sorry. Go on.
Yeah.
These ideas become our values. Sorry. They're not even ours. You're right.
Yeah, they're just beliefs. But these beliefs or these thoughts that we repeat in our head, once they become beliefs, it's like they are our truth.
This is what I was saying, that they become our values and they're not even ours. How many times do we really introspect to see, is this really what I am? Or is this really how I want to be? Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Probably they're even shy. I don't know. Men usually, okay, my other friends don't do this. Why should I? It's also peer pressure, I think.
Yeah.
Like to show that they're weak or...
Sometimes perhaps they might be shy, or perhaps they have this fear of what are my friends going to say, or what are other people going to say if
Absolutely.
I do this or if
If
I
you do,
don't do this, right?
right?
So this also ties back to our conversation about the people that we hang out with.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not exactly sure that we are the average of the 5 people that we spend most of our time with. But what I know is that their thoughts, their choices, what they do influences us.
Mm-hmm.
And just think about it. When you're with someone who's really pissed off, not sad, but it's, he's angry, he's
All the time
frustrated.
complaining.
Yeah, but all of the time, right? I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
that he's having or she's having a bad day.
Right, I
And
get you.
what
Mm-hmm.
happens when you spend time with that person?
If you're asking me, Christina, personally, I am not really like that. So probably for me, it would be like, sadly, or I don't know, unfortunately, I would try to keep distant.
Okay, that's
Because I
fine.
would, yeah, because it would be like, oh my God, all the time the person is complaining, all the time
Yeah.
he's not seeing things in a different way. And that kind of, I very instinctively, I suppose, slowly start pushing myself
Right.
away.
You start contacting them more rarely,
Right.
spending less time with them when you meet,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, please.
No, I was just saying, I don't know if this was the answer that you wanted to hear, but that's the right line of action that one person would take, or I would take for that matter.
That's one line of action.
Exactly. What
Other
about
times, if you're not very aware
you become,
that,
yeah, go
that
on.
you don't like it, that you don't
Mm-hmm.
feel, because you realize that it's having an effect on you. So you need to keep some distance, right?
Right.
You need to put some boundaries there. But sometimes people don't realize this and they just sit there. And when you sit with someone who's always frustrated, always, I don't know, not satisfied, nothing's enough, nothing's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then
Mm-hmm.
when you say goodbye to them after an hour, you feel frustrated, you feel angry, because
Mm-hmm.
emotions are contagious in a sense.
Right.
Think of what happens when you spend time with someone who's happy, who's cheerful, who's joyful. You will start smiling eventually, right? You are going to start absorbing that energy that they put out.
Yeah. I totally agree to that. I had a weird thought about it. I mean, at this point, probably you are realizing that something is not right with you, and you're thinking, I'm angry and I'm upset. Probably they don't even know. But is it ever possible, just like we like staying with people who are energetic, that someone would like to be around someone that is pessimistic?
It might
Maybe.
be, it might be. If you're used to this, if you were raised in an environment where you had important people in your life with this kind of behavior,
Mm-hmm.
then even as an adult, you will go looking for what's familiar.
I suppose that is where the person, let's say in heart or in mind, feels attached, feels at home, right?
Yeah, at home, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a relationship, and it can be any kind of relationship, even if you don't, I don't know, you're not happy, you're not satisfied, you're not thriving in that relationship,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Or it can be a very bad relationship. I'm not going to go into violence, but it can be
I
a
get
bad
you.
relationship,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But it's something that's familiar to you. And
Mm-hmm.
that means that you know how to handle it. Even if it sucks, at least you know what to do with it. You know when to talk, when not to talk, you know what to do.
Right.
On
Okay.
the other side, there could be a much better option for you, a better group of friends, I don't know, people who would treat you better.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that's unknown. You don't know what to do with that.
Right.
And you
Yep.
fear the unknown. You fear that it might be even worse. You don't
Yeah.
know how to deal with someone who's always nice to you. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. This is how we started the conversation. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you feel your mind tends to protect you from something that you don't know, that you're unaware of, like you're saying, and you
Yes.
feel, okay, that's not where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So
And it also
go on.
links back to what we talked about the last time about habits and new behaviors, because those are considered as potentially dangerous as well. When you want to make a change, even if it's not an imposed change, it's something that you want to do. You want a better life, you want a better job, you want a better relationship with your spouse or with your children. But doing those new actions, those new behaviors will feel like a threat. It's new, you don't know, right? And you'll always you will always tend to go back to what's familiar. So circling back to the job, right? So you can ask questions like, what do I feel about this? What do I think about this? What happened? And then you start to become aware. You can make lists of what make you happy and satisfied and pleased at work. You can make a list of all of the things or the moments or the projects or the people that you love spending time with. And the opposite as well. What you don't like, what you just, I just can't, I'll just do it quickly so I get rid of it, these sorts of activities. Right. The kind of activity that and it's like they suck the energy out of you, right? So you can do this. And then also you can start to act as an observer. So you go to the office on Monday and you had a good commute and you meet your good friends or good colleagues, you have a chat, you go for a break, and then at one point you realize that your mood changed. So it's very helpful to stop when you realize that I'm just anxious, I'm frustrated, I'm angry. What changed? What activity did you just do? And you go back, right? To try to identify what you did, what someone said, what you thought maybe that triggered this change in emotion or in the mood.
So Cristina, you're saying to actually take a pausa, as you said.
Yep.
Pauza de Bine.
Absolutely.
So you take that break right there and there, step back, and you start retracing your steps to what really got you frustrated at that very moment. Right? Okay.
Let's say you're in a meeting or something and you can't do it, but you need to do it right when you finish your meeting or your call
first
or
moment
whatever.
That you get. Right.
Because just saying, I'll make a mental note to come back to this later in the evening, you are not going to remember to. And then when you're at home, you want to do something else.
You probably get caught up doing other things also. You have a family, you have the kids. I don't know.
You'll just miss the opportunity. I love sharing this with people in my classes, that it's sad, and neuroscientists say this, I'm just being a messenger here. Okay. That every day we have somewhere around 60 or 70,000 thoughts. And most of them, like most of them, we don't even realize, we are not aware, because they are running on autopilot. It's like it's the software that you have installed and it runs in the background.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
This is like, oh my God, it's like nonstop. And do you think it's because of today's times with social media and the phone and the mobile and the smartphones, or
those are good distractions, right? Yeah. Because we feel the need to always pick up the phone. You don't know what you want to do with it. You just pick it up. Why am I holding my phone? Right?
so used to like checking the phone every few minutes. So
and then when you walk down the street, there are people who are walking and, looking in their phone. They don't even know where they're going. Yeah. And so it's really easy, because we have all this technology and because we have this internal autopilot, that saves energy and runs on routines and, things that you're used to. It's really easy to get caught up in anything, really. And so it's uncomfortable, to be with yourself. I don't know if I mentioned it on your show or I talked about it on a podcast, but there was this experiment where people were asked whether they preferred to sit like 15 minutes on their own in silence or get a mild electric shock. I think I
Yeah.
talked to you about
Yes,
this.
I remember this one.
And
It gave me a
people,
shock.
many people, many
Mhm.
people, including women who you would say, are perhaps more used to looking at feelings or feeling things or talking about feelings, they chose the mild electric shock.
But maybe they just wanted to experience it. I don't know.
Maybe,
I mean,
maybe.
it's more exciting than just sitting
Yeah.
with yourself. I don't know. Maybe I have never.
Oh, definitely. It's more exciting,
I don't know. Just like jitters you up. Well, it's not that I get to get a shock once in a while,
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe I'll get a shock today. Or how about an electric
Yeah.
shock?
Maybe you
Oh.
like it. Maybe you'll make a habit out of it.
Yeah. Oh my God. That'll be like the new drug in town.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. So there can be a number of explanations,
Right.
but once you start sitting in silence,
Mm-hmm.
then you create the space for things, right, to pop up and to present themselves. Hey, look at me, I need attention, right? So these are just a few things when you talk about the job and the confusion that you can do. And what we talked about, making lists and being aware and pausing, writing about what you feel and what you think. These are all things that you can do to get the ball rolling. And writing is very helpful because when you just think about things, it's more difficult to be an observer. So when we go back to the job example, you start writing about an incident, a circumstance that triggered you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you start writing, free flow. You don't need to think about it. You just write down what's in your mind. And then once you're done writing, when you come back to your paper, to your notes, you can see where the facts end and your interpretations begin.
Okay. Yeah. I totally agree that writing really does help. This is absolutely good advice, Christina. Thank you so much.
You're
One of
welcome.
so before I continue, I have a few curious questions coming
Okay,
from me
please.
for now. But I'm with Christina Otzel from Soul Bloom, joining me on today's broadcast, and we're talking about live design. Now, if you have any kind of questions, people, definitely write it down. Use the live chat. Come on the broadcast from your Ran Alive page and write those questions down inside. So, Christina, most of the people that may be listening in would say, Christina, I don't have the time. I'm waking up early in the morning. I'm cooking for the family. I have 2 kids. I have to go to work. I have to prepare lunch for them. I'm coming back, taking care of the household work. I I love my family, but I just don't have time to sit down and do this.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say? Oh, how do you?
In most cases,
Mm-hmm.
it's just an excuse.
So then they are not
I
really.
know it sucks
Mm-hmm.
to hear this,
Mm-hmm.
but since we're talking about, spending time with yourself and staying in the confusion or the suck, right? It's one of the limiting beliefs that we have, many of
Mm-hmm.
us. And it's just running away, if you ask me. It's keeping you safe. Because if you look
Mm-hmm.
at your calendar, no matter if it's on your phone, on your laptop, on a written agenda, what you have written there are your priorities.
Right.
In my opinion,
Right.
once you get real with yourself and you admit that, I don't know, you need to perhaps spend more time with yourself. Maybe you want to read. Maybe you want to sleep. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
want to meditate. Maybe you want to sit in silence to think about what it is you want to do with your career when you go back after raising your children. Whatever it is, if you don't block the time, and nobody's going to give you the time, you need to make it.
You have to make it yourself.
Once you make it a priority,
Mm-hmm.
then it will fit into your schedule.
I don't know if you've heard, but people say, oh, come on, I'm already 50 years old. How am I going to change? This is how I've been for the past 50 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm turning 55 next year or whatever. I'm already too old. How am I going to change?
With this mindset, you're probably not.
Mm-hmm.
The good news is that just like I have no time for this, I'm too old for this, just like I'm not good enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not skinny enough,
Right.
are just beliefs that we have. And beliefs are nothing more than thoughts that we've exercised many, many times, that we've repeated over and over and over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And you can change them.
I totally agree to what you're saying there, Christina. I'll give a very simple example where a woman is always seeing the negative in life, right? And she's always complaining,
Yeah.
no matter what it is, whether it's the performance of her children, whether it is where they are in life, whether it's her own life. Now, I know and you know, but still I'm going to ask, right? Because I'm kind of maybe wanting to get the answer for this. Or nobody can really help you if you don't help yourself.
Yep.
Right? But how can I help this person maybe try to start seeing things and help her improve that design of life that she has and she's not happy with currently? As a second person, can
Yep.
I do something?
I think you can model what you think that this woman could do. I think that that's one of the most important things or valuable things that you could do, especially if, I don't know, you're a friend or you're a partner, or, tell it's not tell, but show, right?
Show and tell. Yeah, exactly. Do it.
Show them what's possible.
Practice what you preach, as you say. Yeah, I suppose.
Be a role model. Model what is possible. And when they'll be ready to see what's possible, besides always complaining, what else is out there, when you keep showing these choices, these new choices or new ways of thinking, or, new things to focus on, then she might come ask you, so how do you do that exactly?
Right.
But
the curiosity has to come from the person.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because the commitment will come from that person as well.
Yeah, I totally agree to that. Yeah.
So it depends on the relationship, right? If it's a brother or sister or whatever, you can be direct and you can try to talk them into it, but you also risk to piss them off, right? Yeah. Shut up. Leave me alone. I'm tired of hearing you, talking about
don't tell me
negative, and don't tell me what to think.
Don't tell me what to do.
You don't walk in my shoes. You don't walk in my shoes. You don't know what it's like, right? So instead, you can try telling the person, but I think it's more valuable to just model what's possible. And when they are ready, they will ask.
I'm going to ask you one more intriguing question regarding this.
Okay.
I am 2,000 miles away from this person. Now, if I was there, I totally understand, men say day in, day out, I could be there modeling, showing in action, in way of habit of how that person can change or can see things in a different light. Is there anything I can do, or I could ask or make it a habit, or anyone out there, right? I'm putting myself on the line, something that I can do to do it from a distance.
Well, this is becoming more interesting.
Yeah.
So perhaps you might like to take some quiet time for yourself.
Okay.
And ask why it's important for you that this person changes.
Well, she's, like I said, she's always seeing things in a negative way. And I think it would help her in her life to see things in a different way.
What does she think?
She agrees.
With you, or that it could be better, or
that it could be better. Yeah, I'm right. You're right. I need to look at things more in a more positive way, be more supportive.
Okay.
Right.
So if that person agrees, and you know this, then we can talk about some actions. But if it's about you being a savior for someone, right, that's something that you should take up with yourself.
Yeah,
right?
I get you.
So going back to your example, perhaps you might try to act as an accountability buddy.
Accountability. Okay.
So maybe whenever she feels negative about something or feels like complaining about something, I don't know, you agree that she can call you or she can write you, right? And then you can talk about this and you can help her stop that negative thought and try to reframe it, try to look at something that's useful, something that's more positive. That's one thing that you can do.
Don't you think if I will put it that way, she will continue to be negative minded and talking negatively? How about if I was to tell her if she says something negative, should I maybe also give her some negative energy, or say, even I'm upset and this is not right, and would it help her think, okay, I shouldn't be talking negative things? I don't know. I'm just trying to see.
If you use it, perhaps if you use it as an example, like say you call her, I had a really bad day. This happened. And look what I did, right? So I was angry or whatever. I was sad for 30 minutes or 5 minutes. And then I just went for a walk, or I washed my face with cold water, or whatever it is that you did.
You're right.
And then this is what I did. And again, you go back to the modeling.
Absolutely. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So you can do that.
Cool. Lovely, Cristina. That's very, very informative. I'm really enjoying this call. Unfortunately, we have just 5 minutes and I know you need to scoot out really fast. So I'm going to ask just the last question that we have on the agenda. And I think this would be helpful. What is the foundation for designing?
I think that it's a very nice round closing.
Okay.
Because we talked a lot about awareness and bringing more awareness. And I think that this is one of the foundations or the building blocks that you need when you want to design a life that you love.
Okay.
So when I say awareness, it can be awareness that there's something better. There must be more to life.
Good point there. Yeah.
Or the awareness that something's off, right? Like we talked about the job and the value, the creativity example. Or maybe awareness of you being responsible for your choices. And that's a big shift in how you think and how you perceive things. And also because we said, okay, I don't know what I want. I'm confused, right? Taking time to bring awareness to what this new life would look like. And when I say new life, it might mean that you look into a number of areas of your life. Right. Job, financial, love relationship, parenting, friendships, spiritual, emotional, we can split life up into a number of areas. And maybe you need to do some work on more areas, or designing might just be that there's this one area that you now need to focus on. It really needs your attention, right? For example, spending time charging your batteries, relaxing, or you being important on the list of important people in your life, that you make that list. Right. Right. So I think, first of all, it's awareness of all of these things. What does that life look like? What do I need? And then once you have this awareness, this is good, then you can go into the responsibility and action piece. Fantastic. Of it. Lovely. So, right, you know where you want to go, and now it's also useful to see where you are now. And it's your responsibility to sit down and to look at these pieces of your life and what doesn't work and what works very well. As this might be a source of inspiration. Look at the things that go awesome, that are beautiful in your life. What is it that you do in those areas, and how can you replicate that in the areas that need your attention? So when I say responsibility and action, you look at what you need to do to fulfill those unmet needs, right? And for all I know, you might want to win an Oscar. That Oscar will not fall out of the sky. Right?
No.
For an Oscar, you need to be nominated. And in order to be nominated, right, if we go back, you need to create a movie, let's say, or act in a movie. Well, for that, you need to learn how to act, or you need how to direct a movie, right?
Fantastic. Yeah,
these
good
are
point.
all actions. You can't just, visualization is extremely important, knowing what you want and taking the time to feel what it will feel like living in that new life, but it's not enough. You need to take action.
Absolutely.
If you don't take action, then it's highly probable that nothing will change. And so you look into your life, you understand what works, what doesn't. You look into your limiting beliefs. We talked about a few of them today. We also have loads of limiting beliefs about money, about what we deserve, right? What we should and should do, should and shouldn't say, and so on and so forth. There are a number of limiting
These
beliefs.
things come even from where you're born, geographical location, your customs, habits. Yeah, absolutely correct, Cristina. That's very true.
And I also want to say, if you discover, that like most of us, you've been raised with certain beliefs that limit you, that disempower you, and that you no longer want to, hold as being your truth, then it's no use blaming your parents or your grandparents, because all that they did, what they did to you is what's been usually done to them. So if they've been raised with certain beliefs, it's highly probable, depending on their level of consciousness and how much they work with themselves, that they will,
pass on the same.
Pass on, yes, that was the expression, right? Pass on whatever it is that they learned.
Very unconsciously, consciously, that does happen. So yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They think this is the way, and unless you
and you come to think, when you hear people before they become parents, what do they say? When I will be a parent, I will never, and you can fill in the blanks.
Right.
And what happens in many cases,
they do the same, I suppose.
They do the same.
They do the same.
What is going on? I promised I would never do that. And that is how powerful your beliefs and your autopilot, right, that runs in the back is. And we sometimes sabotage ourselves just to recreate circumstances that are familiar to us. And we talked about this a bit earlier.
True.
So I think, and one more thing that I would say would fall in this category of responsibility. So first we had awareness of a number of things. And now we're talking about responsibility and actions that you can take. I think it's interesting to look into prototyping whatever change you want to implement.
Say the word again, sorry.
To prototype.
Prototype, okay.
Like to test.
Yeah.
In a safe environment. So for example, if you think that you want to become an entrepreneur, perhaps it's safer not to quit your job and, today.
The job, right. Exactly.
You might want to think about keeping the job and trying to do this on the side. And there are a number of things that you can do. Or you said about the creativity thing earlier, that you would look into options to move, right, into other departments, perhaps.
Right, lateral movement. I don't know.
But before you actually move, you might go do some shadowing. Right?
To see how the role is, if it suits you, if it really talks to you. Okay, good point there, right?
And now there's a number of things that you can do. You can try mentoring, you can try internships, you can try shadowing. If you think you want to move into a new job in a different company, perhaps you can find someone that works there. Perhaps you know someone, and just take them out for a coffee. and say, look, I want to apply to this job. Tell me a bit about this company. Because it's one thing, in most cases, it's one thing what you read on paper in the job description, right? And it's
tell me about it.
And you can, I'm not saying to totally rely on that feedback, because that person might have their own issues and be biased and whatever. But you get more information, so that when you decide that you actually want that change to be a long-term change, not necessarily permanent, but for a number of months or years, before you jump into it, you might want to think about testing.
Absolutely. Right. True. Good point there.
So, yeah.
Cool. Cristina, thank you so much. We are above 8 minutes. I'm hoping that you are not in a rush, but thanks for staying with us this long. There are 2 comments. I don't know if you want to stay or you want me to wish you goodbye till I read them.
Let's see.
Okay, so Daniela, my wife, says that's the thing. I mean, this is when we were talking about where people want things fast and not wanting to be aware or introspect. So she says that's the thing. We are too used to looking for excitement and quick recipes to solve our problems. In the beginning, it would take a lot of effort and determination to change bad thinking patterns, I think.
Yes. And I think we talked about habits the last time.
Definitely.
And it applies to patterns in general. At first, it will be difficult.
Right. Absolutely.
Like your brain is going to give you all the reasons why you should stay exactly where you are.
Yeah.
And it's like just saying, thank you, brain. I hear you. And we are going to do it my way.
My way. Right. Do you think this 21-day pattern helps? 21-day habit.
Yeah, as I said,
ask you this?
I think we did, but I'll just comment quickly on it.
Yeah, please.
I think that if it's about drinking more water or going for a run or working out, I think that in 21 days, you could have a quite solid foundation.
Okay. So this is like a physical activity that you're talking about.
Not necessarily. If it's a behavior, that doesn't involve some deep limiting beliefs, right?
Okay.
You can have the water with you. Now we work mostly from home still. In whatever room you're going to go, have water.
Right.
How difficult can it be? Set reminders on your phone.
Not difficult at all.
Yeah. Drink water. Just make it very easily accessible.
Absolutely.
Right? And I'll just refer back to the books that I recommended about this. Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit, and James Clear, Atomic Habits, where atomic stands for the tiniest, particle. Yeah.
Yes, true.
So I think that you can have a foundation. Usually I like to think about habits or patterns that we've really exercised a number of times, like highways, right? When you think highway, you think get there fast, speed, right?
Right.
And then quick results, right? This is the path that I know. And so think of these habits that you have like highways. And so here I am today deciding that I'm going to start creating a new habit, which means or translates into doing a new behavior, right? That I will reinforce day in and day out until it becomes a new habit.
Absolutely.
So you imagine that here you have the highway.
Okay.
And now you decide that you are going to take a different path and you go on the grass. And that grass is like shiny, green, new, So what happens when you step on the grass once?
When you step on the grass once?
Once. What happens with the grass?
It gets pressed, I suppose, compressed.
And then it gets back up.
Right.
But if you keep going on that same new path tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, at one point, the grass will no longer stand up. It will start to die, I guess is the word. Right?
It gets decomposed. It'll just probably not. Very true.
What will you have after many, many, many walks on that little, path of yours? you will get a tiny little path.
Very beautiful, Christina.
There will be no grass, right? But your
Yeah.
path is like this, this narrow.
Right.
And your highway will always be here.
True.
Right?
It's a
So
good
whenever
metaphor.
you need to make a
Fantastic.
decision,
Mm-hmm.
you will have this tendency to go back because it's fast and you know it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this tiny little narrow road that you've created. And then how many times you still need to walk that path until it starts to get wider. And then you perhaps, make it a real road, right? And then
Very true.
maybe in a year or so, you can have a new highway.
The new highway. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I love the metaphor. This is absolutely beautiful what you just said. It's like I kind of had hair standing up. It was really beautiful. I really loved what you shared with us today, Christina. And
I think it's handy to keep in mind whenever you want to create any change. This metaphor.
Absolutely.
Keep it in mind.
Absolutely. So I do understand that you are creating a new website for life design as well. So do share that with us when it is ready, or put it
Okay.
down on or I will ask you once again and like knock on your door and say, Christina, can you share the link with us? And I'll put it down on the broadcast as well.
Yeah,
Okay?
sure. So by the way, talking about beliefs,
Yeah.
when you said that when it's launched, just put it there, like in the comments. The first thought that I had, like, that would be like boasting, like, look, I'm back. Like, it's been a week since we talked, but now it's launched and here I am, advertising myself.
I don't think so. It's boasting.
Yeah.
Listen,
so it's just, an example of what happens automatically in your mind.
Okay.
And what
I
it
get your point.
means to become aware. I just had this thought, like, what is this?
Yeah.
Where did it come from?
Where did it come from? Mm-hmm.
So
True.
life design is really a project, that I deeply love and value. And it all started with my need to redesign some things in my life. As I told our listeners and viewers the last time, after I had my second baby, at one point I decided that I no longer want to go back to my job. Not because I didn't like it, but I didn't love it anymore. And it's like, now looking back, I see a lot of clues that I didn't see at the time. Going to job interviews and not getting the job, and then getting pregnant,
Yep.
and all sorts of things that at that time were really frustrating. But now when I look back, those jobs were not mine. They weren't meant for me, right?
Yeah.
So this is how it began. And then I think it was around that time when two professors from Stanford started talking and sharing about this class that they were doing, Designing Your Life, Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. And they also have a book that's also translated in Romanian, if you want to read more about the process of designing a life that you love. And so starting from there, I began to become more aware of things that were not working, of needs that I needed to meet. I went to coaching school, and I'm not going to get back into the whole story I told the last time.
Right.
But then it came to my mind, like, what if other people go through this as well? What if they need guidance? What if they need a framework? And so life design, I think it was in the autumn of 2018 when I did the first in-class training. It was a few hours. And then from a session to the other, it kept getting longer. And I kept tweaking it because it was something new. And then I used my participants' feedback and my own to keep making it better.
Of course.
And so after 4 or 5 sessions and loads of feedback and my own notes, I realized that the program was super valuable. But because it all happened in like 4 hours, even though you went home with a clear framework, it was still a lot of work to do and it felt overwhelming.
I believe so. Okay.
Right. So then last autumn, I made videos, in-depth videos where I kind of explain what live design is, and I redesigned the whole in-class experience.
Redesign the life design. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so now it's almost ready to become an online experience.
Fantastic.
That if you would do in a sustained rhythm, it would take you somewhere about 7 to 8 weeks to complete. Like, but I mean really doing the work, because you have loads of coaching style exercises.
Okay.
Which I tried to create so that you feel that I'm kind of with you, there in the class, talking about things and clarifying things.
Right.
And since last autumn, then we had some signs from the universe, because there are all sorts of external platforms that I could have hosted my training on. I didn't know why, but I just didn't feel like doing that. And so, talking about signs from the universe, I just one day I opened the podcast. I thought I picked it up, I chose it just randomly. Yeah. And then the guy who was invited in the podcast said something like, hey, if you already have a website, it's super easy to host your own online training there. And I was like, this is it,
Yeah.
but I couldn't put my finger on it before I heard that sentence, And so then we started creating an online platform, which took ages, and basically everything that could go wrong went wrong. It was a really, really cool and intense learning experience.
Right.
Very frustrating at times, but
that's the journey, I suppose. Yeah.
And so now, once you enroll in this class, you have lifetime access to all the videos and all the materials, and you can redo that as many times as you need. But it's been a long journey. Plus, COVID didn't really help, because my programmer was really, really busy with all the sites that he handles.
Is it ready?
It's almost ready. So after we finish this call, I need to call him to kind of go through the entire flow, from purchase to you receiving your account details and all of those, technicalities. And so I'm really, really hoping that at the beginning of next week, I'll have some good news to share.
That's great. Till then, are you anyway doing online workshops like how we are doing the call right now? Would you be doing, or do you do any live design coaching with a group of people on a paid basis or of some sort?
I do coaching online, and also
like workshops.
I will also do the workshops online, because I'm not sure that the autumn will bring the old way of doing classes back.
Right.
And so I was in no rush to create courses, because I feel like many people had things to process about what's going on with this isolation, quarantine, what's the new reality. We had to sort out our things as well. So I didn't really feel like it was the time for me to start creating these right then. But two of my other very or very workshops that people usually ask me about, when's the next session? Those are about emotional fitness and rewriting your limiting beliefs. These are two of the most frequent ones that I ran in class. And now after vacation time is over, then I will start delivering them online.
Okay. So if that's lovely. I asked you this because I would want people listening into the broadcast and that will listen in later, the viewers that are there, to definitely go on soulbloom.ro. That would be the website
Yeah.
to access the workshops and have a look at what really interests you,
Yeah.
and
And also
take
follow the
advantage.
page. Also follow the page on Facebook, because that's where I
Don't forget to
create
follow.
events, right?
Yep.
And make announcements and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So don't forget to follow her page as well, Soul Bloom. And just like my friend Ronnie says, Christina is the best. So this is what I would say as well, Christina.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the time. And wow, the
I
the
know.
conversation just
Yeah,
went
I
ahead.
know. Just like last time. It's okay.
I apologize, but I'm also very grateful that you stuck around and told
Thank
us
you
a
for
little bit
having
more.
me again.
And with all my heart, din suflet, as we say in Romanian. So till then, to all the viewers and to Cristina, you as well, bună seara, good evening, erev tov, and hope to
Have a
see you
nice evening,
again.
and thank you so much.
Din inima, and see you again on another broadcast, hopefully.
Have
Till
a
then,
nice summer so far, you know,
yeah.
until we meet again.
You as well. Have a great summer, Christina. Do take care. Lots of love.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Have a good
Bye.
evening. Papa. Bye.